everyone, welcome to Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. I hope that this finds you really well wherever you are and that you are filled with fibery joy and excitement for what you're working on. It is blustery outside, it is rainy, it is actually quite cold. And I've just got feedback, so hopefully you guys didn't experience too much feedback on your end. Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy weekend. We've had, as you can see, I'm all sunburned by accident. I don't know what I was thinking. I did not put on sunscreen yesterday. It was a beautiful day. It was blustery. It was windy, but it was a lovely day. We were outside all day at Nora's. Nora had a soccer tournament all weekend, and we were outside all day, and I don't know what I was thinking. I just didn't put on any sunscreen. We didn't put sunscreen on the kids. We didn't put it on ourselves. We did not think about it. I don't know what we were thinking about, because the last 2 days we had put sunscreen on, but go figure. Anyhow, I am having a bit of a day. There's been quite a bit going on. I've already told Spin Group this morning about what's going on. It's quite a few things. I have to say there are two things that I am incredibly grateful for. The first thing is friends and neighbors who rally around you when things are just not going super well. 3 friends are helping us out this afternoon with getting the kids from school, getting them where they need to go. The second thing that I'm really thankful for is you guys and the community, because Becca had asked me, I popped into the Zoom to the Spin Group this morning. She asked me how I was doing. I said, we weren't having a very good day. And you guys were just, you guys know who you were, the ones that were there. You guys know, you were so supportive. So thank you. I felt seen. I felt listened to. It's really important. And I was able to stay in the Zoom and just listen to the chitter chatter. I really enjoy listening on Tuesday mornings while I'm getting ready for the podcast. And as I was listening, this little known fact about Rachel: when I get tired, because I've had about 2 hours of sleep, when I get tired, I drop everything. And it's like a severe case of the dropsies. It's not like kind of things slipping out of my hand or like holding on to something. Like, I drop things, and the kids can always tell when I'm kind of at the end of my rope because I start dropping things. And my mom is the same way. She gets very dropsy as well. But I get really bad, and I have to actually be careful about what I'm holding on to because I will just drop it. And I was holding my bowl while I was eating because I hadn't had a chance to eat breakfast before I dropped the kids off at school. So I was eating while I was in the Zoom meeting, and it just dropped right out of my hand. I don't know what happened. It just dropped right out of my hand. So it broke. So then I had to clean that all up. So I had my camera off and my screen off for a little bit because I was cleaning up my breakfast. So that was fun. So you know what I did? I had basically eaten it. It's not like I hadn't, I'd basically finished it. But you know what I did? I made a lavender latte. And I'm going to enjoy it while I podcast. I never put lavender syrup in my coffee. It's one of Mike's absolute most favorite things, and he has it maybe once or twice a week, maybe. So we always have lavender syrup. It's my absolute most favorite drink in the whole wide world. I never order it. I never have it. But a tablespoon of lavender syrup in decaf espresso with almond milk foamed on top is hold the phone. That is my favorite. I know, Nicole. She's like, please hold the mug with both hands over your desk. Yeah. If there was ever a little known facts about Rachel kind of a thing, like a post, it's what do you not know about me? I drop things. It's my thing. Anyhow, we are not going to have a really super long show today. The reason is because I have to go to the airport to pick up my mom. Her flight is delayed. That's part of the problem, part of what's going on today. And then being tired on top of it. James had some really horrible nightmares last night, and I laid with him in his bed for most of the night because he was really crying and upset. I almost didn't send him to school, which in hindsight I shouldn't have. I should have kept the kids home because it would have been easier because of everything going on. But anyways, as you can see, I have an absolutely immense pile here next to me on my desk here. You can see I've got all of this stuff. We are not going to get to all of this stuff today There is not enough time in the universe to talk about the amount of stuff that I have to talk about. And I could go to talking about it in the next show as well. But what I thought about doing, I actually had a little bit of I was hit with a bit of inspiration this past week. And I can't remember what night it was, Friday or Saturday night. We were just at home. Nora was recovering from her games throughout the day. She was in the hot tub, just quietly sitting there reading, just kind of having some quiet time. And she finds being on like that and having to play and be with her team and stuff, she finds that really tiring. And it's the introvert coming out in her. And so she was in the hot tub, James was doing something, and I just sat down and I just started writing. I have not just started writing and just felt really inspired to write in a long time. It's been a long time. So I wrote about 8, I think it's actually closer to 10 pages now that I've done some editing, about all of these color experiments. So I was going to talk today on the podcast about what I was doing and what I was trying to accomplish, which we'll cover a little bit in the show. But because I felt so inspired, I actually wrote it all down, and it will be an upcoming Spinning Pearls. So whether it comes out in June or July, I'm not sure, but it will. I have not done a recorded, edited Spinning Pearls, like formal Spinning Pearls this year, because the idea was to look at archived content and stuff that people had missed from all of the years of stuff that we've covered. And so it'll be fun to have a Spinning Pearls come out this summer. So that's for the Patreon community. And I'll go through why I did what I did, the reasons for it, what dyes I used, how I did it. And I'll talk about all of this. Look at this. This is what I did. All of this. This is what I've been working on for the last week. I know. I don't actually know how many skeins are actually here. There's at least, there's 21 per color wheel. So, because I did color triangles. So 21 times about 8 different breeds. And that is what I did. So there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's at least 60 mini skeins here at least. And I think there's more. I think it's closer to 80. And that isn't even all I did. We'll talk about some of that today. And yes, it's all hand spun. All of that is hand spun. And everything is tagged. Yes, absolutely, Dagmar. Everything is tagged. So that will be a big Spinning Pearls that'll come out in the next couple of months. So I will let everybody know. And you know what's so funny? I know Diane said, no wonder you're exhausted from all the other stuff. I know. This was while the kids were doing all of their schoolwork last week. I just had the dye pots going in the background. And it was really, really fun. To just kind of have the dye pots going and not really have to think about them too much, because I just kept setting the timer, and it was really cool. It was really fun. So we will talk about it. We will get into a little bit of it today, but that big project I've put into a vlog, and I will record that and get that all up and edited for you guys in the next month or so, and I will make sure there's posts to let you know when it's all dyed, when it's all posted. Yes, acid dyes, and yeah, it was really fun. And I'll talk about a little bit more about that later in the show. So without further ado, I want to talk about Junction. I keep missing it every time the show comes up and every time we start the show. So we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'll tell you what I'm wearing. We'll go through that, and I'll talk about Junction, and then we'll see where we're at with time and how my mom's flight is doing, because she's delayed. And that's part of what's causing all the problems today. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. A thank you to our sponsor, Brother Drum Carder. They are dedicated to giving you the very best of carding products with a focus on quality, affordability, and customer satisfaction. They are beginning to build mill processing equipment, so please stay tuned. Be sure to check out the new products on their website and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Brother Drum Carder. All right. I just, oh, we have such an amazing community. You guys are amazing. Somebody just texted me asking if they could help with something that is very helpful. And she texted back, and I texted the information to her, and she's like, I'm on it. And then my friend Sarah, who's taking Nora to soccer this afternoon, she texted her husband. He's on it. He's taking the girls. You guys are amazing. All right. What am I wearing? I don't wear this cardigan very much, and I'll put my hair off to the one side because I wanted to show you why. This is the Shore cardigan by Carrie Bostic Hogue. I really like her patterns. I've always really liked her patterns, and I will post the link for you guys in the chat. Because it's one of those things. I knit it during, I'm pretty sure I knit it during the pandemic, I'm pretty sure. And because I did a lot during the pandemic, I went through a stage where I knit just an unbelievable number of sweaters. I think I knit like 14 or 15 in 1 year or something. And that was during 2020 into 2021, it was like this period of time where I just knit like the wind. And of course it was stress, and there was other stuff going on and all that kind of stuff. This was a Frisian fleece that I processed myself. We talked about it on the podcast a lot. It's a down breed. It's very spongy and springy. I'm using it actually in I'm not really going to talk about this project today, but I'm using it in my Jethro cardigan. I had one leftover skein in this sort of brown black color, and I'm using it in my Jethro, which we'll talk about. We won't talk about this project later, but we are going to talk about the Jethro later. Cardigan. It's a crocheted cardigan. And it's kind of funny going back and working with this yarn again, because I spun it all long draw. I had carded it all into bats. I posted my project page on Ravelry for the yarn in the chat just now, and I also posted the sweater project page. So if you want to find the sweater, you can look it up. But so working with the yarn again, it is so springy and spongy, just like you would expect from downs. And the other thing is, because of that, the sweater, like, it stretches a lot. And so, like, as I've changed sizes over the years, and as I've wanted a little bit more space in the bust and all that kind of stuff, it just kind of grows with me. What I did with the cardigan, though, that I really regret, and I have actually tried to figure out how I can fix it, and I don't think that I can rip it out because of the because of how the buttons are done, but I've figured out a way that I can fix it regardless, because I found the yarn that was left over, and now I can use the same yarn and fix it. But I wanted, at that time, there was a really cool technique online that was to attach your buttons as you're knitting. And I wanted to give it a try, and I wanted to see how that would wear with the buttons, because I do tend to button this up the few times that I have worn it. And what's ended up happening is it's just pulled the stitches right out of shape. And so the button like hangs, and it actually makes me a bit nervous now, because I wonder when I'm wearing it, when the buttons are actually going to pull off. And it's the top 3 that are the problem, because those are the ones that I tend to button up. The bottom ones are fine because they haven't been pulled on to the same extent. I would not use this technique again. I have not used this technique again. Maybe it works really well for non-elastic, really strong yarn, but for a spongy, bouncy wool, or for wool in general, I would not use this again. What I'm going to do is, and actually if I'm waiting this afternoon for my mom and picking her up, I actually have the buttons ready to go, and I need to sew on some buttons for Nora as well. I'm going to put a button in behind and just re-secure them. So I'll put a little button for stability in behind. I have tons of little tiny clear buttons, and I'll put it on in behind and like basically reattach the button and just cinch it down. And I've been meaning to do it for a while, and I haven't done it. And when I pulled this out today, I was like, you know what? That is a great project for this rainy Tuesday while I'm going to be waiting. The other thing about this sweater that I will say is I haven't worn it a ton, like I said, but it is pilling. So the few times that I have worn it over the years, it is pilling. And I think what'll happen is those short bits that were carded in with the fleece and that I worked on at the time. You know, those, you know, it was a really clean fleece. It was one that I had got at the same time that I got my Dorset that I'm working on right now. All of the, you know, I just threw everything in on the drum carder and opened up the locks. I wish I had had a lock pop at the time, although I didn't really need it, but it would have made it even faster processing because I had to card many times to get it all opened up and get the bats really beautiful. And I think it just would have, the lock pop would have helped to get some of the short bits out and some of the little springy bits. So it is pilling. It'll clean up really beautifully as I sweater shave it and as time goes on. Christine says, I can see the button technique working on a cotton sweater. And yes, I thought the same thing. I think, you know, I thought like a linen garment that a flax wool blend would work. Anything planty, you know, something, you know, BFL mixed with Ramie, that would probably work. That technique would work. The thing is, I'm really finding on cardigans and sweaters, because the fabric does, even if it's not super drapey like it would be if it had a really super high silk content, cardigans do tend to still hang, right? Like they hang down and they you know, they sort of have a drape to them. And I find because of that, you need the backing buttons. And so all of my sweaters that I've put backing buttons on, I haven't had to redo buttons. And the ones that I haven't, I've had to redo buttons. So just something for those who are starting to spin and knit their first sweaters. You know, get some little cheap plastic backing buttons and just keep them in your stash if you can find them on sale, and get a whole bunch of them. Mine are from my Aunt Yvonne after she died. She left, you know, just notions, like all of her knitting and sewing and notions. And there was like 200 of these little tiny clear baby two hold buttons. So yeah. Crazy. So that is what I'm wearing. All right, let's talk about what's coming up in the community. We've got a lot going on in the community right now, and it's all like such good stuff. So we are doing our 2-year deep dive into Sarah Anderson's book, The Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. Where you can engage is through Spinning Pearls, which I talked about earlier with all of my color stuff that's going on, which is kind of more of a hangover from the Year of Color. So it's not directly related to Sarah Anderson's book when that Spinning Pearls comes out, but that's okay. I'm still very much working on my Year of Color stuff. And we knew that study would go on for more than a year. We knew that Year of Color would continue to pop up again and again. The Year of Color thread on Slack is still active. We're still using it. So definitely watch Spinning Pearls if you're a Patreon member to for my color experiments vlog. For Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs as well, right now we're working on singles, and the Wool Circle and Spinning Staples is the place to directly immerse yourself in all of that content. Inquiries and Explorations right now, that's our Zoom group that meets with me every other Saturday morning. We just finished chatting about barriers to larger spins. We've been really having these deep conversations about our making and getting more out of our making, and how we can channel some of these challenges that we have and turn them into more manageable chunks to get things done. All right, Spinner's Book of Yarn Design. We just finished our Back to Basics. It finished up at the end of April. And so over the next couple of Tuesdays that the Wool Circle is streaming, on the opposite Tuesdays from the live stream, Rebecca's going to be jumping into our next set of learning, sort of 3 or 4 months, 4 months, I think, of learning, where we're going to be looking at spinning singles. There's going to be a little bit of spindling content. I'm going to throw in about my color experiment stuff. And so spinning, the Wool Circle stream will be streaming next Tuesday. We streamed last Tuesday, and Rebecca's been getting into spinning all of her singles. She just finished last week spinning slub singles, or thick and thin singles. That was really fun. And she made just this amazing shawl using my vanilla shawl recipe. And it came out just absolutely beautifully. I think I meant to put it into community participation this week, and I think I missed it because of the weekend that we had. So I will throw it in for next time. I'll try and remember. It's beautiful. And then, of course, we have all of our group Zoom meetings that go on throughout the week. Our spin group meeting is just before the live stream on Tuesday mornings. Everybody is invited if you're a Slack channel member, a community member. And then there's spin group on Thursdays that catches Europe and Australia and anybody down under. And then fiber prep and weaving group alternate with each other on Friday mornings, and Dion and Lisa host that. So thank you so much to you guys. Thank you to Eve for hosting our Thursday group, and thank you to Glenda for hosting our Tuesday group. Glenda's been doing the Tuesday group for a long time, and I want to say an extra special thank you to Glenda. Book group, we just finished The Daughters of Nuri. It's a part of a series, so I don't know if some of you are going to keep on reading more of the books, but you guys just wrapped that up 2 days ago. And there will be more information on the Slack channel forthcoming for book club about what book we're going to do next, which is really exciting. All right, Woolen Spinning Radio is out. I think I already mentioned a little bit about Woolen Spinning Radio. It's not the journeying to becoming more intentional. We talked about preparing to travel and what that sort of looked like for Rebecca as her and her husband and their family go off on their adventures for the next 3 months and get ready to be kind of on the road and transient and doing all sorts of different stuff over the next little while. All right, I think what we will do is we'll start off with Junction because it's been in the background for a while and it's been finished for a while. And I would really like to share with you guys sort of the finished sweater. There isn't a lot to say about it, so let's do that first. All right. So, Junction. I meant to go to the bigger camera. I'm so sorry, you guys. You're like peering at me through the tiny camera. I'm expecting you to be able to see, you know, expectations, planned disappointments. Okay, this sweater was a very, very fast knit, like very fast. I've talked about it before. There's a couple of changes that I would make if I were to do it again. I would add short rows at the back neck here and just push this up a bit. So that is one big change that I would make if I were doing this again. So if you are thinking about making this sweater again, I would highly recommend that you push it up. The other change that I made is I did make it longer. In the pattern, I think the options are a cropped version if my memory serves. And then of course she says in the pattern, like lengthen it if you want to. I actually did think about leaving it as the crop version because it would be sort of more like this if I had done that. And I quite like that look. I think it's actually really quite cute. I have a lot of high-waisted jeans because they fit me and they work with my body type. And, you know, I thought having a crop sweater would actually work quite nicely with those jeans. But I ended up lengthening it because I find that I will wear sweaters more if they are a little bit longer. Because this way I can tuck it in if I want to and wear it more like that, sort of tucked in at the front if I want to. And I can flip this up underneath the cuff, the ribbing at the bottom. And I can crop it kind of myself, like without actually having a crop sweater. And then if I'm wearing different jeans or I'm wearing a different outfit, I can, you know, have it out and have it long. It's just because my torso is really long. We've talked about that on the podcast a lot. It's just my torso is really long. That's why high-waisted jeans work on me, because for some people, when they wear a high-waisted jeans, they're like their jeans end up being right up at their bra line. And for me, it actually puts my jeans where they're supposed to be. So that's part of the reason why I wear a lot of high-waisted jeans. The other thing I did is because I had the yarn, I did lengthen the sleeves. So this particular sweater is called Junction, and it's by Andrea Mowry. And the yarn that I used is Biches and Bouches Le Petit Lamb's Wool. I think in the pattern she uses Le Petit Lamb's Wool and Cashmere. I'm pretty sure she uses the Cashmere blend. My local yarn shop did actually have that yarn, but just the price and wanting to maximize yardage and wanting to really focus on my hand spun, not having issues with wool being next to my skin, etc., etc., I went with just the Le Petit Lamb's Wool in black, and I think the colorway is actually called blue black, if I'm correct, because it is ever so slightly blue. When I put yarn next to this yarn, the black, not the contrast color, but the main color, the black, when I put some of my like my warmer yarns that I was thinking about using that had like reds and oranges in them that were a little bit more variegated for the contrast color, you could see that the black was actually a bit blue. You could see the cooler undertones, which I thought was really interesting. The contrast color that I used was my hand spun. It was Smith & U from years and years and years ago, Organic Polworth. She doesn't have colorway names. And I think actually it worked really well. I have a lot of yarn left over, like a lot. I could make a whole nether sweater. But I think the contrast worked really well. You can see the brioche nicely, but it doesn't scream at you. So this to me is a win because it's a little bit understated. It's a little bit quieter, a little bit lower. It's not low contrast, but it doesn't scream at you. Because, you know, some yarns against black you can get some beautiful contrast. This is a little bit more subtle, and that means I will wear it because it's not sort of in your face. It doesn't scream anything like that. It's just great. So very, very fast knit. I knit this while we were in Tofino, and when we came home, all I had to do was the sleeves. So while the kids have been working on all of their schoolwork and stuff, I knit the sleeves. And I had it all washed and blocked and ready to go last show, and I completely forgot to talk about it. Like, I didn't even think about it. It was right there on my dress form in the background, and I totally forgot about it. So very, very happy with this. I haven't worn it yet because it's been sitting here waiting to be talked about and discussed. The neck is a little bit open. It's a little bit broad. It's kind of more of a boat neck. We'll see how that goes when I start wearing it. I will report back. I do think the neck is a little bit open for me and a little bit big, but you know, it might be nice for those sweaters that you're looking for that are a bit, that you need in the shoulder seasons where you need something, but you don't need something really, really warm. So, I'm calling this a win. I really, really like it. It fits beautifully. As you can see, it's got lots of positive ease on my dress form, which is exactly what I wanted. And I think it turned out really well. So let me move that out of the way. Talking about high-waisted jeans. I'm wearing high-waisted jeans. All right, let's have a look at what we need to talk about next. I wanted to talk about, just very, very quickly, I wanted to talk about a finished spin. I did finish another Longway Homestead skein. We'll talk about it very briefly. I started I'm not going to talk about my my moon set tee because I didn't work on it this week at all. So I haven't made any progress. You guys haven't even seen it yet, but I did talk about it last show. But I haven't made any progress. So we'll talk about that next show because I'll make sure Diana here is empty and I'll be able to put it on for you guys so I can show you how the t-shirt is constructed. And I wanted to talk about a project that is kind of percolating at the back of my mind and just kind of getting started. So why don't we talk about my Longway Homestead first, and then we'll go from there. I think that's what we'll do. Thank you for the updates, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. It's very helpful. Okay. All right. Let's talk about my Longway Homestead. So this most recent spin of my Longway Homestead, for those who don't know, I've been really trying to work my way through my Longway Homestead and get it done. So I've got 3 more. This was the 4th from finished, and now I've got 3 more to do. So Corriedale was my most recent. I was so excited about this, like so excited. And it ended up being really disappointing. I'm not gonna wax poetic about it for too long. The Fiber Club, I would still highly recommend it. I think it's an excellent way to spin a whole bunch of the breeds and get to know them. This was a very fine fleece. You could tell it's unbelievably soft. It might have even been like some lamb's fleeces that Anna got. I'm not sure. There is just a crap ton of neps in it. Excuse my language. It was really disappointing, and you can even see, like, you can see all this fuzz up here, along here. That's all neps. All of that is neps. So you can really see it kind of in the fuzz. It's really too bad. I spun it long draw. I spun it very, very quickly. I divided, what I did was I took the roving, they're pin drafted rovings, and I divided it in half. I had tried dizzing it just to try to get some of the neps out and just to even it out a little bit, but it was too short. And I ended up just, you know, kind of abandoning that quite quickly after doing a little bit of sampling. I ended up just sitting down and just spinning it. And I know that there's probably sort of some of you out there thinking like, why would you bother? It's full of neps. It's not very nice. The fleece was kind of wrecked in the processing. Why not just move on? There's other stuff in your stash that you want to work on. There's other stuff that you want to do. Part of it was I wanted to see what the finished yarn was going to look like. I kind of wanted to see, like, from beginning to end, like how terrible, when it's that chock full of neps, like how terrible would the finished yarn be? It's not that bad. It's not great. It's not that bad. This is totally usable. Did I enjoy spinning it? No. Was it a little bit of a labor of love? Yes. You know, did the long draw make it go really fast? Absolutely. I plied it up really, really, really fast. This is about 700 yards of lace weight yarn. And, you know, am I glad it's done? Yes. Do I want to do it again? No. But I'm glad that I persevered. It's not my most even spinning. There is definitely some thicker and thinner spots. I was definitely getting a little bit lazy toward the end of the second bobbin where I was just like, oh, just get it done. Whatever. Don't care. It's not washed yet, but it's usable. I could totally see myself using this in a weaving project. Like it could totally be warp. It's strong enough. As long as you don't like hoist the loom really super tight on the warp. It's a win. It's a win. In soccer, there's wins and losses, obviously, right? But one of the things that I found really interesting when we first got into watching soccer and when we first started to follow soccer, we call it football in our house because that's what the rest of the world calls it, but I'll call it soccer here just to keep it straightforward. One of the things that was really interesting, and it's kind of stuck with me in my making ever since, is this idea of a draw. So a draw is when you tie. It can be a 0-0 draw. It can be a 5-5 draw. If it's a tie, it's a draw. But professional soccer clubs and professional football clubs actually see some draws as a win and some draws as a loss because you still get 1 point. So if you win, you get 3 points. If you lose, you get 0 points. And if you get a draw, you get 1 point. And sometimes a draw against a team that you were expected to lose against and not get any points is a win because you drew. So you get a point. And this isn't going to turn into a big soccer lesson. We did that all weekend with Nora. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of talking about soccer. But this ended up being a win. It was a draw in the sense that it was like, you know, it could have been a real loss and been really terrible, and I could have plied it up and it would have ended up being a real loss where it's like, why did I waste my time? The yarn is terrible, etc., etc., etc. But this ended up being one of those ones where it didn't take me that long to make it. It wasn't that enjoyable to spin, so that kind of cancels each other out and makes it, in my mind, a draw. But it ended up being a win because it's not terrible yarn. It's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty even. It needs to be washed. The neps are still there. It's still a little bit frustrating that there was the number of neps that were in it. But it's kind of a win. I give this 1 point. So I'm not going to go on and on about that spin, but that is, I think, one of those things that as hand spinners we don't talk about enough. We really only want to talk about the beautiful prep, the beautiful color, the perfect yarn, and everything else is kind of not good enough. And I sometimes feel like I gloss over the fact that it's okay that we have some of these spins and some of these makes that just aren't as enjoyable. And yeah. A long draw. Diane, I love your puns and plays on words and everything. You are so brilliant for that. James had to do a spoken word poem last week for school. And, so he got to watch all of these spoken word poems online, right? And if you guys are looking for a truly amazing one, Google on YouTube Sollie, Sollie, Australian slam poetry. His will come up. It's called Air. I was almost in tears. It was amazing. Anyhow, I'll try and link it in the Slack channel later if I remember. But he was watching all these poems and he was coming off with all these like word combinations, but because words and sounds, the sounds in words don't come easy to him, he was trying to like rhyme these different words that don't really work together. And I just thought of you, Diane. I was like, Diane, you would have just been in stitches laughing along with him, and he was laughing too, about these combinations of words that he was trying to come up with. He was trying to come up with a percentage that would rhyme with another part of his line that he was saying. So it would be like, and like blah 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 percent of our da 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 da, and it was just so funny, and he couldn't come up with one. So finally the one that worked was 89.9%. It just had the ring that he needed. It was hilarious. Anyways, I was totally thinking of you, Diane. We were just bawling. We were laughing so hard. So, all right, let's talk about a project that ties directly. Oh, no, you know what? Change of plans. Let's talk about Nora's knitting project, weaving a crochet project, because then I want to talk about my Beaumont alpaca project, because that ties directly into all of the dyeing that I did. So let's do that next, because I'm really excited to show you her progress. Okay, this is really fun to show you guys. I'm so excited to show you. All right, so Nora was sick last week. She ended up with a really terrible cough and just this head cold and wasn't feeling great. So she stayed home from school on Monday and Tuesday. Those of you who are part of the Wool Circle will remember, because she kind of made an appearance in the chat. And so because she was homesick, on Monday, she was really feeling terrible and basically just laid on the couch all day and read her Kobo. But on Tuesday, but then toward the end of the day and then all day Tuesday, she actually started to get a bit of energy back and wanted to work on her project. So her project is the Jethro cardigan. It's a pattern by Tanis LaValle, who lives in Ontario. And I have a link here somewhere. Maybe I don't. Yes, I do. This is a link to mine that I am working on, and so that one's the link to mine, and I am going to do a project page for hers just to sort of document the process. But she did all of the crochet. So all of these squares that you make. So for the Jethro, let me just talk about it for just a sec. Those of you who made these in the 70s will know how to make these cardigans. They're really, really, really easy. Basically, you make a whole bunch of squares. You choose a crochet pattern. This pattern happens to be for granny squares, but you choose a crochet pattern and you make the squares to the size that you need them to make a reasonable, dimensions of the sweater. It's meant to have a ton of positive ease. It's meant to sort of be a bit big. It's not meant to be fitted or to have any shape to it whatsoever. So think blocky drop shoulder cardigan. So you make all of these squares, because of course Nora wanted me to make it with her. And when you're done, you crochet them all together. So Tanis has some links to some YouTube videos, and you start at the bottom back here and you work your way up and you attach all of the squares. You go all the way across and all the way up at the same time. So this is the back of Nora's sweater. And then you keep on going and you work your way down the fronts and continue attaching, so that when you're done, you have this big sort of rectangular piece of fabric with these two front pieces that kind of look like wings laying on top. Then you fold it over and you do another crocheted seam down the side here. So that's what her side seam looks like. And she did a pretty good job. I think she found it a little bit challenging, but she did a really good job. She did all of this herself. I helped her with the squares. I made she had 36 squares. I probably helped her with about 12 of them. But then after a while, she just kept on going and kept on making them herself and picked the colors and just kept on going. And then she did all of this outside. So while she was sick on Tuesday, this is what she worked on. It took her the whole day. So once she had it all sewn together, of course, she threw the cardigan at me and was like, can you please do all the ribbing? And I was like, of course. I told her that I would do the knitting. Her project is to learn a new skill. She has learned a new skill. So I did the 2x2 ribbing at the bottom. I picked up stitches from the wrong side so that she would end up with the nice braid at the bottom, all the way along, all the way to the back, goes all the way across the back. And of course it looks right because, you know, you can see it on the rest of the cardigan. Where she's done her crocheted seams. So having that along the bottom and having that braid along the bottom, it looks right. And then I did all of the ribbing for her to make her button band. So the button band goes all the way. And then I just put some stitch markers where her buttons need to go. And there's really nowhere near us to get buttons anymore. The one store that there was is closed, which was a huge, huge loss. So we went to my local yarn shop and we did get buttons. My friend Megan was working, and sorry, I'm having trouble pulling them out. Where are they? Ah, here we go. And they didn't have any colored buttons. Everything was either wood or natural, you know, metal. There was nothing like colored, which was really too bad because pink buttons on this or purple buttons, that would have been perfect. However, she did end up finding some really pretty buttons, and they are the color of they match the creamy white that she chose, and they've got this beautiful design on them. So they're not like bright and purple or, you know, pink or like something like that, or teal. Teal would have been really nice, but they work and she's happy. And if we ever find some different buttons, we'll replace them. So I told her I would sew the buttons on today, hence fixing this sweater at the same time. And she's good to go. All of the color, what ended up being really neat about this is all of the color, all of that was from my stash. So she's actually helped me use up a whole bunch of stash yarn. Not a ton, I wanted it all gone, but she used up quite a bit of it. And then this was new. We went to the yarn shop and she actually picked that out and picked that color, because I didn't have enough in my stash of one color. But all of these are leftovers from baby sweaters that I made for her when she was little. So she actually got a big kick out of that, like being able to work with yarns that she had had previous sweaters from. The other thing that we wish that we had done, she only did 3 rounds. So she did the inner square, the outer, and then one more. And then this out here is all the border from sewing it together, from the continuous crochet as you go method, I think it's called, something like that. I wish I had gotten her to do a 4th row. The sweater just needed to be a little bit bigger, and it's fine around her. The width is fine, but it's the length. I said to her once she attached all of her squares, I said, I really think you need 1 more row. So 2 more on each front and 5 more at the back. And so she would have had to do 9 more squares. And I think at that point she was sick. She just sewed this all together. I think she felt really overwhelmed, and I offered to help her. I said, like, we'll make them together. I'm faster than her, so I could have done, you know, 4 or 5 in the time that she did 2 or 3. But she decided not to. I told her either way was correct. Like, there was no wrong answer. But she is a little bit bummed about how short it is. It's not super short. It comes to the bottom of her bum because I lengthened the ribbing by 1 extra inch. But for those who are thinking about doing this with their kids, or maybe doing one of your own, just beware. You lose a lot of length when you sew together the shoulders, because you have all of this up here, all that fabric that gets kind of used up, and you need the length. And she really needed to have a longer, like another row at least, probably even 2 rows. So it's kind of a bit, it's not a cropped cardigan on her. It looks like a regular cardigan, kind of more like what I'm wearing today, but she wanted it to be longer. So just FYI, watch the length. And my squares are bigger than hers. My squares are about the size of hers after she did the border. And I did 4 rounds on mine. So you can see the inner, the next row, and then the dark on the outside. And I did that purposefully because I wanted lots of positive ease. This fits me. I wanted lots of positive ease and I wanted it to be longer, but I may have to add an extra row as well. So instead of 36 squares, I might have to do 45. So I am keeping that in the back of my mind. I've got tons of yarn. It's not a big deal, but it is more work. It is more work. And then you need more yarn for your main color when you sew it all together, when you do your crocheting together. And you need yarn for the ribbing and for the sleeves, because I haven't done her sleeves yet. I told her she could hand her project in and then I would do the sleeves after. I know she really wants it done, but time. So we'll see. Yeah. Yes, definitely add sleeves, Christine, for sure. I just haven't done it yet. Yeah. Oh, Dion, that's such a great idea. James should make her clay buttons. That is such a good idea. And then we could just put another button on the back to support it for her, so that they wouldn't get accidentally lost. That's a great idea. Yeah, she does. Paulina says she has an eye for color. That cardigan is stunning. She does, and actually so does James. He picked out colors for a baby blanket when he was a toddler. My mother-in-law accidentally felted his baby blanket that I knit for him, and so I told him I'd make him a new one. So I did. He picked all the colors, and Sue, who owned my local yarn shop at that time, he just walked right in there. He's like 2.5. I think he was maybe almost 3 by that time. He walked in, he pulled down all the colors he wanted and put them all together, laid them out the way he wanted them, and she was standing there going, like she could not believe it. He has a real eye for color. Nora's pretty good, but James is like, he's my mom. It's incredible. Okay, really quick fiber prep, if I can find my thing. I don't think I have a screen divider for fiber prep. I do. So I'm not going to wax poetic about this too much, but I had talked to you guys last time, a while ago actually, about my Dorset fleece. So this is the first bobbin spun. I did not get all of it processed all at the same time, and a lot of that was because just again time and getting. When we talk in queries and explorations about our big barriers in terms of getting stuff done, my big barrier is fiber prep. I do not get the time to do fiber prep. So this past week, while my dye pots were going and the kids were working on their schoolwork and Nora was laying on the couch sick, I actually got a little bit more of my Dorset done. So I had lock popped for an hour the previous Friday it was either Weave Group or Fiber Prep Group. I can't remember which Friday it was. I filled up 2 cloth bags full of popped locks. And then this past weekend and last week, I got 2 huge bats carded. And then I got, those bats actually sat for a few days. So they sat in my bags for a few days. And then I got back to breaking them down. I broke them each into 8ths, and then from there I created little nests of fiber, and they're ready to spin. So my next bobbin of Dorset is ready to go, and it felt so good to get that prepped and ready to go, because I knew that I had to get the Corriedale done so that I could get this going and finish this off. So this is all I have left of the Dorset fleece. It's just a little bit more left. I'll show you what the locks look like originally. This is such a beautiful fleece. I'm tempted to go to the fleece auction in July and get another one, but I don't think I will. I'm tempted though. This was the original locks. They're just awesome. Uniform crimp, long staple, just, you know, really, really beautiful all the way through. Gorgeous white locks. When you lock pop the tips, they come out white. Not a ton of waste or second cuts. Just beautiful. And this has been in my stash since 2019. And so I'm just so pleased to be getting going with it. And my friend Kelsey did a beautiful job getting it clean And now it's just a matter of processing this last little bit. Like I don't have a lot. It's not much. I would probably be able to, sorry for the crinkling. I would probably be able to get this last little bit processed in one Friday morning fiber prep group. I think it would take me probably about an hour to get it all lock popped. And then once that was done, this went through the carder once to make my big bats. That was the bat that came off the first pass. This is a first pass bat under there. And that's this bat under here. Oops. Under these little nests that I made, that under there is the first pass. That is the difference between lock popping and not lock popping, and then putting it through the carder. Like, incredible. No like carding 4 or 5 times, just lock pop, card it once, and then card a second time to make my little nests. Just awesome. So I'm so excited to get this going and to enjoy that spin, because that's going to fill up a second bobbin. And then this last little bit will be the third bobbin. And then we'll ply them together and see what I've got, because I'm really excited. Oh, Diane, the lock pop is a game changer. It is a game changer, right? It's just awesome. All right, I don't have a screen divider thing. I guess I'm going to have to come up with one, but I don't have a screen divider for dyeing. I have talked over the years a lot. I'm going to have to take this off. I'm getting too hot. I have talked a lot over the years about really working more and more and more toward the time, energy, and intention to work from fleece all the way through to the finished project. There's 2 things that have really acted as barriers for me from being able to do that. And one of them has been the time and effort that it takes to do really good fiber prep. And one of the things that's happened over the last few years when I finish a skein of yarn is my initial reaction is, even if it's a beautiful skein, is that's nice, but it could have been nicer. And I think it's just the knowing what incredible fiber prep does and the yarn that you can get from it as a result. It's like the yarn that I did for my Longway Homestead breed along, where I had a Romney. The Romney wasn't spun yet, and so I took the Romney and I dizzed it on the hand card, and it just created this beautiful, slightly more worsted prep from a woolen pin drafted roving. And the resulting yarn was perfect. I loved it so much. It's sitting in my stash waiting for the rest of the Longway Homestead to be finished. And so that kind of left me feeling like all these little projects over the last number of years have just always left me feeling like I really want to get back to the beginning and get back to what I really started spinning for in the first place, which was to go back to the beginning and work from fleece. Maybe not 100% of the time, but definitely more than 50% of the time, because I really enjoy the mindfulness that comes with just kind of the meditation of just kind of working through a fleece. So, and fiber prep, the more I do it, the more I enjoy it, because the more you learn and the better you get at it, the faster you get, all that kind of stuff. So, that was the first roadblock, and it's just the time and attention of being able to carve out that time. The second roadblock has always been dyeing, because I don't want to have a closet full of white undyed sweaters. As enticing as that sounds, that's not kind of my first choice. And so one of the things that has always kind of been a hiccup for me is the dyeing. Part of it is not having a second sink. I don't have a laundry sink in our garage. I don't have a laundry sink in our laundry room. Our laundry room is more of a hallway. I don't have a space to sort of be able to dye and to learn all this stuff. And then the other piece of it was the making sure that kind of deeper understanding of how the dyes work, creating ratios, mixing up the dyes, being accurate about that, having a recipe. My intention with dyeing was always to work from the primaries and to create my own color, which is hard. And that kind of it's like a whole other, it's a whole other body of knowledge. You know, spinning is a whole body of knowledge. Fiber prep is a whole body of knowledge. Knitting is a body of knowledge. Dyeing is another body of knowledge. And I wasn't sure over the last number of years with young kids around that I had the capacity to kind of take that on as well. But I've been listening and I've been reading and I've been continuing to just soak up all of what you guys have been doing and all the little tips and tricks and pointers and all the kind of stuff. And, you know, it's almost like it kind of just clicked. It was like something Dion had said, something Rebecca had said back in the summer when she did the wool circle last summer and did all that dyeing through the summer. Just having that kind of percolate, having it sort of wash over me. Dion's constantly dyeing and doing stuff and she's sharing her process with everyone. Some of you guys are pulling out the dye pots all the time and just giving things a try. I feel like it all kind of just like seeped into my cerebellum and it's just all of a sudden it's like, oh, you can do this. You know how to do this. So what I did, and this will be the subject of the upcoming Spinning Pearls vlog. So I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail here. But what I did was my spinners, my collection, I think I have a photo actually. Let me just double check. I took all of my, where is it? Is this it? Yes, this is it. I took my sheep breeds kit from School of Sweet Georgia, and I never shared this on the podcast after I did this. But I took my sheep breeds kit because I had stashed all of these yarns. I had this pile of yarns. There was about 12 different yarns that we did on the podcast. I had all of these 2-ounce skeins. And there weren't really enough to do anything with for any of them. But I stashed them in a bin. And in the bin, I put a whole bunch of dyes. And I just stored them because I just needed to store them. I needed to get them out of the office. I needed to get them organized. And after I did that, this was last summer, this time last year, it was like late spring, early summer. I pulled them out and I started skeining them into mini skeins. Let me grab one here. Yeah, this one. And I started skeining them into mini skeins. And so once I did that, I had all these mini skeins and and my plan was to take each breed and to dye the color wheel. So that was what I did. And I dyed the color wheel. It was this color wheel here, not the golden yellow. It was this yellow. The golden yellow came later. So pretend the golden yellow isn't there and pretend that it's this yellow instead, okay? And then I kept one for control, so the original color, because some of the white fleeces are more ivory, some of them are more white, there's gray, there's moirette, there's all different colors. And so then what I did was I started dyeing, and I did the blue and the green first, and I did yellow, and everything came out absolutely pale, pale, pale. It didn't matter what I did. I checked the math over and over again. I don't know what I did wrong. I must have not added enough dye. So, you know, it was a year and a bit ago. I put it all away and I kind of left it. And Dion made a comment about the Sweet Georgia online calculator that you can get when you do the course Dyeing Intentional Color. There's a PDF. There's a Google slide. No, that's not right. It's a Google sheet that you can download with a built-in calculator that's part of the workshop. And I redid all of my calculations by myself by hand. And I double checked them on the Google sheet and I was correct. So I did something wrong with the math a year ago. Remixed all of my dye stock and I dyed a color wheel. And this is on Shetland. And it came out exactly how I thought it would come out. And I thought, I nailed it. I got it. I finally figured it out. I figured out the 4% citric acid by weight of fiber. I figured out the depth of shade at 1%. This is all 1%. It was such a huge win, you guys. After just feeling like I was like the kid on the short bus and just wasn't getting it, I feel like I finally got it. So this is my my RYB minus the golden yellow. Golden yellow is sort of it was just an experiment to see which yellow I liked, the cooler yellow or the warmer yellow. I still actually prefer the cooler yellow, and I've ordered a different yellow even still just to compare that one as well. And I'm hoping it's kind of somewhere in between, a little bit more warm, not as cool as the top one, not as neon, because I want to have my goal is to have about 7 dyes that I work from exclusively. And they're kind of like my primaries to create my colors kind of thing, that would be unique for me. And so that was the golden yellow against the cooler yellow, which is a Ciba dye, C-I-B-A. This one is also a Ciba dye, C-I-B-A. They're acid dyes. And then I took my CMYK color wheel. So I did that one afterwards. So this is CMYK. And you can see how much more brilliant it is. It's neon. This is kind of more hot fuchsia. This one is turquoise. So not quite as warm as cyan, a little bit cooler, but it creates a really nice colorway, a really nice color wheel, but it's bright. So I did a whole bunch of dye experiments with that, and I looked at all of that, and I will share all of that on the Spinning Pearls vlog that'll come out either next month or the month after. And I did all of this on all of those breeds from that Sheep Breeds kit. So this is Suffolk, Cheviot, Charolais, Icelandic, White Jacob. Oh, let's do a little poll. Which one do you guys think was my favorite? So I did Grey Fin, Gotland, Shetland, White Cheviot, Jacob. It's all the sheep breeds that I popped up before. There was Charolais, White Cheviot, Icelandic that I added in. Icelandic was my own. And Suffolk, those were the downs. The long wools were Gotland, and the mediums were Finn. I did Murret Shetland, White Shetland, Rambouillet. What else did I do? Oh my gosh, you guys. Like, there's all this too. I haven't even talked about this today. Anyways, let me know what you think was my favorite. So I did all of that. And then I realized that I had a couple of favorite colors come through. So these are the triads in a color triangle. And if you look here at this one, this is on the Rambouillet. This is a triad of 40% white, sorry, 40% turquoise, 40% magenta, and 20% yellow. And you got this really kind of gray, muddy purple. And I just kept coming back to it again and again and again. And on all of the different bases of fiber, it's a little tiny bit different. And same dye pot, but it just has it's just slightly different. A little bit grayer, a little bit this, a little bit that. And this is what I want. I want a reference card. This is the purpose for doing this, is that I have a reference card of all of this stuff that I can create. These are all different breeds, dyed in the exact same dye pot with the exact same dyes, and they come out a little bit different. And I loved this one. And I thought, you know what? I have to start somewhere. I just have to start somewhere. So what I did was I raided my hand spun stash, and I pulled out all of my Beaumont alpaca spin, those 50-50 Beaumont alpaca spin that I did several years ago. Eve had originally gifted me with this fiber. And I spun it long draw on my Lundrum Saxony. It was when I first got my Saxony, and I just wanted a really, really big spin to get comfortable. And I spun and spun and spun, and I came up with about 1,000 yards of yarn, 2-ply, heavy lace, light fingering. It didn't bloom a ton in the dye in the washing and the finishing because of that alpaca that was in it. It'll have beautiful drape when it's knit up. It was about 2,000 yards per pound, and I had about 1,000. I had about a pound, and So I decided to pull it out and I started knitting a swatch with it. So let me just go to the other camera, and I see you guys have put in what you think was my favorite. So I'll answer in a second. But this bottom swatch is on 4mm needles and held double, because the yarn is so fine that I was like, do I really want to knit an entire sweater on 3.25mm needles, which is the top swatch? And I think I would even have to go down to a 3mm or even a bit smaller. And I just am not sure that I want to do that, to be honest. The fabric is actually quite lovely. It's spongy. This fabric is actually quite lovely. This was 3.5mm needles, this top one. So I could go down to 3mm, but it's a bit small to knit an entire sweater. That small. Like, I don't know. I'm on the fence. This is really nice. It's spongy, it's springy, it's DK, heavy sport light DK on 4mm needles. It does the yarn justice. It's just lovely. So after I knit the swatch, I was like, yes, I want to work with this yarn, do something with it, get it out of my stash. I'm excited. And yeah, it's almost transparent. That's right, Rebecca. It's almost transparent. Like, you can see right through it. So like for a summer top, it would be great, but that's not 1,000 yards worth of yarn. So I'm actually honestly thinking about another field day. I was seriously thinking about another field day. And so I took a bunch of mini skeins off of this skein, and I dyed, this is the control. I might actually go to the big camera if you guys don't mind. I'm going to go to this camera because it's easier to hold stuff up. So this is the original skein, the control, because I'm keeping one that's undyed all the time, because you guys know how much I like to document. You know how much I like to have samples. This is great to show my process down the road when I come back to this stuff and I'm talking about it after the fact. This is it dyed. And you can see that the blue struck first. And I don't know if that was partially just how I dyed it, the citric acid. I'm not totally sure. And I wouldn't be opposed to this in the finished yarn if it struck a little bit differently like this, because I actually kind of like the tonality of it. I like the kind of dirty gray of that purple. I really like it. And when you see the skein out, it's actually really, really pretty. It's not quite as obvious. I think in the skein where it's skeined up and where it twisted together, it kind of matched up, but it actually in real life is not like that. It's kind of more like this top part here. So that was the triad. So it's 40% turquoise, 40% magenta, and then 20% yellow. And the yellow was the cool yellow. So we're talking about the cool yellow, the hot fuchsia magenta, and the turquoise. Is that this one? Yes. So it's these three colors mixed together. Basically neon. I don't know if you guys know, but I actually don't like neon at all. I hate it. So it was very interesting last week. Very interesting. So that was the base. That's the the control little mini skein that I dyed, because what I am really excited about is creating my own colors. So I took those two skeins. I dyed a whole bunch of them at first. So I had a whole bunch of them. And the other two that are showed here are different colorways. They're different bases. They're not the same. I took this is the Beaumont alpaca, and this one is the Beaumont alpaca. So these two here are both Beaumont alpaca. I took this original skein. I had made 6 or 7 mini skeins, and I dyed them all this base color. Then I took them out of the dye pot after they had cooled down, and I rinsed them and everything. And then I got the dye pot ready again, and I did one with a 50% wash of jet black and one with a 50% wash of brown. Ah. So the black made it darker. It gave it a blue hue, and it makes it more of it, it darkens it. The brown darkened it, and it made it really warm. It's really warm. And then on 2 other bases, this one is Shetland, and this one is This one is Shetland. This one I think is Cheviot, I think. I threw them into the dye pot because I had extras, and I was like, I want to see what they do on different bases so you can really see how they change. Isn't this one gorgeous? Oh, love that one. Love that one. This one is awesome. All the things, you guys, all the things in that one. Yeah, 50%. So I over dyed it with 50% depth of shade, 50% depth of shade. So then I got really excited, like really excited, because, you know, have you met me? And I get really excited about things. And I had accidentally dyed an extra, I was trying to keep track as best as I could, but I had dyed an extra, I had done this one, which is 80% yellow, 20% turquoise. I had done 2 of these by accident. So I had 2 collections that were this one by accident. So when I pulled them out of the dye pot the second time, I was like, oh no, I already did this one, shoot. So I just put them aside, let them dry, didn't think about them, labeled them. But I'll just keep this one out for a second. But what I did was, because I had this pot of 50% depth of shade in brown, I stuck them into there. So this is all of the bases that I did. So this one is the Murret Shetland. This one is the Icelandic. This one here is Rambouillet. Or maybe this one's Rambouillet. This is Rambouillet. This one is Shetland. This one's Cheviot. This one's, no, this one's Charolais, and this one's Suffolk. Or maybe, yeah, it's Suffolk. And then this one is White Jacob. And you can see how they all took the dye slightly differently. Same base, same color to start with, but they all took the brown a little bit differently. 50% depth of shade over dyed. So I started with this on all of these, and then I dyed them with 50% depth of shade in brown. Just brown, plain brown. And again, Ciba dyes, C-I-B-A, Ciba. Maiwa used to carry them, and I went there on Sunday while James was at his ceramics class, and they don't carry them anymore. They only do natural dyes, which is really too bad because the Ciba dyes are they're really great. So that is that one. And then I had dyed by accident. It was my last mistake. I did 50%, I did a second collection of 100% turquoise. So I had my 100% turquoise was already done, and then when I pulled it out of the dye pot again, I realized that I dyed it a second time by accident. So I took all of those and I did 50% depth of shade in black. And yes, it's a lot. Like 50% to do a wash, like it's a lot. So the weight of fiber, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, Rebecca and Eve, but basically what I did was I did the depth of shade, I did the weight of fiber, whatever it was like 12 grams or something, and I used 6 mils of 1% dye, which would be 50% depth of shade. Does that make sense? So maybe I'm just using the wrong vernacular, like just the wrong terminology. So these ones here were the black. But then these ones here were actually gray. I did the same thing again, but with gray. So gray, silver gray, I think is what the jacquard dye was called. These ones were dyed with jacquard. This was silver gray at 50%, and these were black at 50%. Cool, huh? I love the indigo quality to this. This is like one of my favorite colors. I love that indigo kind of look to it. So now I have all of these ideas, and now I'm just like boiling over with ideas and inspiration, and now I have to do something about it. So this is what I'm hoping for long term, is that I end up with these shower rings of samples that I can share with other people and say, this is my process, this is what I do, this is how I do what I do, and this is why. And that is inspiring to others. And I don't mind having tons and tons of samples. I don't mind having this kind of stuff. I see it as part of teaching and part of building my library as a teacher to share with others, so that I can take something like this and turn it into, teaching, or a lecture or whatever. Going back for a moment with what my favorite one was, I will spoiler a little bit. My absolute most favorite that dyed up of all of the ones that I did, and I've actually kept them separate. I loved the Shetland. That was right at the top of the list. I loved the Murret Shetland. This was Murret Shetland. This was the original color. Where is it? Right here. This was the original color here. That's the original color of the Murret, kind of gray brown red Shetland. It's looking a bit flat on the screen, but it's actually redder. And these are all the colors that I got out of that. So the color triangle is here. We'll talk about color triangles when we do the vlog. These are all of my triads that I did. Look at this one. Oh, beautiful. So I loved that one. But my absolute most favorite was the gray fin. And I think it was Glenda that said that. Oh, Diane too, she got it. And Dion, you guys know me. The gray fin was my favorite because, have you met me? You guys obviously know me. You know what I like. Medium wools, natural shades. Yeah, you guys know. That was my favorite. And actually the golden yellow, this was the only one that I liked the golden yellow on, that I didn't feel like it was too strong. And it was too close to my hair color. So we will talk about that more over the coming weeks. And I'm really excited to share more with you guys. They did come out very jewel toned. That was something that I felt like I had to start with these really, really bright colors if I was going to then do stuff like this. Because you have to start with that really bright garish color to sort of get the depth of shade and to get the color that you want. I've seen that again and again and again. So when people do the over dyeing. So Rebecca said, yes, that's considered 0.5%. So 50% depth of shade would mean you're using 6 grams of dry dye powder for 12 grams of fiber, and that would never exhaust. Of course, right. But I said liquid. So I used 1% dye solution, and I used 6 mils to get that 0.5. Yeah. Having the 1%. Yeah. Dion's with me too. Yeah. It's all math. This is why it took me so long to get on the dyeing train. It's because I'm actually really good at math. I use a lot of math at work. James and I are doing grade 6 math right now. It's a lot. It's making sure that what I'm saying is really clear and making sure that like that translates to the actual dye pot itself. And I just have to slow down and really think it through. And I actually asked Mike a couple of times over the course of the weekend, like, because Mike has a minor in math as his degree. And he has a BCom and with a minor in math. And I said to him, like, am I explaining this right when I talk to you, like when I'm talking about the percentages and the ratios and stuff? And he's like, yeah, totally, absolutely. So yeah. Rebecca says it's the Rachel color wheel. Totally. Yeah, Rebecca says, I'll take all of your neons. I'm weirdly into them right now. I think part of it was the there's been a lot of neon on Instagram recently. I don't know if you guys have seen, like a lot of people are knitting their traveler in neon. They're doing the traveler, like the traveler shawl. There's been a lot of neon around. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. I know she said we know what you meant. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to me to try to explain it in a clear way without like completely losing people. So I am working from a 1% dye stock solution. So, you know, from there, I just used half of what I normally would to sort of do the wash on these. And that's what gave me these colors here. So I hope that's helpful. Anyhow, I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about today. We're getting on to be a bit of a long show. Let me just check on my mom's flight, because Rebecca's been keeping me up to date. I guess Rebecca, it's the 297. It was delayed by 2 hours. So I guess I gave you the wrong flight number. I'm really sorry. I think we're going to call it a day there. I think we're going to save community participation for next time. I don't think I have the energy to do community participation today, and I really appreciate you guys' time here in this place today, and not sort of feeling like I have the bandwidth to carry on with it. I'm really excited to get this door sit spun. I hope you guys are working on something that you're really excited about right now. I know that's been something that I sometimes struggle with in the spring, is like everything feels new and it feels like everybody's getting restarted and we're excited for the summer and there's all this energy, and I sometimes end up feeling like, oh my goodness gracious, you guys, like I sort of end up feeling like a little bit of, it's almost like jet lag, almost like just sort of this, whew. You know, I feel like we already did the marathon of the fall and the winter, and now I want to break. So it's nice to feel excited about a project that's up and coming, that I'm almost done. And yeah, so it's good. It's good stuff. I think there was one thing I wanted to finish off with that I wanted to mention to you guys, and it's just gone. It'll come to me and I'll post it in the Slack channel. In the meantime, I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful couple of weeks. We will be meeting back here, same time, same place, next Tuesday for the Wool Circle to finish off this end of this month. And then we'll be, into June. It's crazy. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful couple weeks. I will see you here next week for the Wool Circle. And I will try to remember to post in the Slack channel that slam poet. That's what I was going to mention. I'm going to post that slam poetry for you guys. I'll put it in hashtag random in that channel for you, so it doesn't get all like jumbled up with everything else. Okay guys, have a great week. I wish you all the best wherever you are, and I hope that you are really, really well. I'll talk to you soon. Bye everyone.